Getting hurt on the job isn't just an accident. It's a turning point, and what you do next matters. When you call Horwitz and Associates, you're not just hiring lawyers. You're building a team that fights tirelessly to get you the compensation you deserve. They've secured record-breaking verdicts for hardworking people just like you. Because when you're injured, you don't just need help. You need a win.
Hi, I'm Cliff Horwitz. Visit me at horwitzlaw.com.
In South Carolina, 11 people are hurt during a fight aboard a party barge Memorial Day weekend, and we got all of the details. In Arkansas, a former police chief serving a 30-year prison sentence for rape and murder strolls right out the front gates and is still on the run. In California, Kevin Costner is facing a serious lawsuit after a stunt woman claimed she was forced into a violent rape scene while filming his upcoming blockbuster movie. We are discussing these trending crime stories today on CrimeWire Weekly, and I'm Jim Chapman.
And I'm Kelly Jennings.
Kelly Jennings, you ain't in the studio with me today.
I am not. I am in a filthy hotel room that my children have destroyed, and we are having the time of our lives on vacation. But as you know, people want to hear the crime news, and so I had to bring my laptop and my trusty headset and microphone, and I'm making it happen.
Yes, you are working while on vacation.
Yeah,
you are.
We got to do what we got to do, but it's fun. You know, we got to. I appreciate this work. I think it's fun, but we got to let the kids have some fun. So they're sliding down water slides right now with the husband, and I'm in the hotel room.
There you go, talking about crime.
That's right.
Look, quickly before we get into it today, I want to say I guess we're going to call this our educational tip of the week. So I've had some comments that you put like on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and things like that. And a couple of the comments have been in relation to commercials cutting you off, meaning Kelly, in mid-sentence on Unspeakable. And so I wanted to explain just quickly, we don't have any control over that. So what happens is Kelly's cadence is awesome, but sometimes Kelly will pause in the middle of a sentence when she's making a point. This AI that is used to insert these commercials, they think that when she's pausing sometimes, that means the sentence is over, when actually it's not. It's Kelly does a great way of storytelling for effect. And sometimes it'll just assume that is commercial time. And we have no control over that.
Sorry.
So somebody said that whoever inserted your commercials needed to be fired.
Oh my God.
And yeah, it pissed them off, girl. I was like, damn it, this really must have pissed you off.
It's
and
me.
Look,
Hi, I'm the problem. It's me.
This is why we offer Patreon commercial-free episodes on both of our shows, is so you don't have to do that.
Yeah.
You don't have to listen to commercials. You can join that Patreon, and guess what? You get no commercials and you get it early. For the people that they're getting the content for free, that's the only way we make money.
Yep. And you got to make money to make shows.
They're necessary evil.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank y'all so much. And we do appreciate majority of feedback is always really good. I mean, people, I think, appreciate the time and effort that goes into any show like this. And so for those people that are supporters and everything, matter of fact, I was at an Astros game yesterday. My daughter and her choir got to sing the national anthem, and I was so proud. And a man in the stands with us goes, "Man, I love that new show, that CrimeWire Weekly. That's awesome." And I was like, so tickled. Really? I'm in Texas, and somebody said it to me, so that's kind of fun.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good. Well, speaking of awesome, we're going to get into the news for today, the crime headlines, if you will. And right off the bat, I'm going to tell you about a pretty wild one out of Arkansas. The manhunt for Grant Hardin continues. This escaped former Arkansas State Police Chief is serving a 30-year sentence for murder and rape, and officials are actually entering the fourth day of search efforts. Grant Hardin, who is 56, has been in prison since 2017 for first-degree murder and rape. He escaped the Calico Rock North Central Unit. This was on Sunday at approximately 2:50 p.m. that day. Hardin escaped custody through a sally port by impersonating a corrections officer, and they stated that he impersonated that officer in dress and manner, which caused another corrections officer operating a secure gate to open the gate and allow Hardin to walk away from the North Central Unit. Now, officials said during a presser on Wednesday that Hardin was not wearing an official uniform from the Department of Corrections, and it had to have been homemade or brought in somehow, in their opinion. I would agree with that. That's the only way he's going to get it, right?
Right.
Surveillance footage shows Hardin pulling a cart, which was found abandoned outside the gates of the prison. And as I said, he remains at large as of this recording, with officials saying during a press conference they are confident he is still in the area of the prison. Officials said citizens of Izard County and surrounding counties should stay vigilant. Lock your house, your doors, and report any suspicious activity. Call 911 if you think you see this guy. And the U.S. Marshals are, of course, assisting in the search efforts. Stone County Sheriff Brandon Long said, quote, "I am very scared that this guy is going to hurt or kill somebody before this is over with." Now, Hardin is the former police chief of Gateway, Arkansas. He worked in the prison kitchen, but it is unclear whether this job involved any access to the sally port he used to escape. He had no significant disciplinary issues during his time at the prison, and there's no reason to believe anyone aided him in the escape as of yet. Nathan Smith, the former Benton County prosecutor who helped put Hardin behind bars, said the escaped inmate is a sociopath. He was quoted as saying he has no moral core or center that would prevent him from doing anything. Hardin is considered extremely dangerous, should not be approached. Authorities using helicopters, drones, canines, and ATVs have been looking through rugged terrain, densely wooded areas, and hills, and all of this hinders kind of an ongoing search, because this is not looking for someone in metropolitan Atlanta, Georgia. You know, they are looking in a lot of wooded areas where there's a shit pile of places to hide, quite frankly. Hardin pleaded guilty in October of 2017 to the first-degree murder in connection of the shooting death of 59-year-old James Appleton. He was also convicted of the 1997 rape of an elementary school teacher in Arkansas, and that crime was actually highlighted on a television documentary called The Devil in the Ozarks. This was in 2023, and Cheryl Tillman, who is now the mayor of Gateway, Arkansas, and Appleton's sister, incidentally, said that Hardin is an evil man and said his escape is almost like deja vu all over again. Hardin is 6 feet tall, 259 pounds, so a big guy, and authorities said anyone with information should contact local law enforcement. And Kelly, is someone who worked in corrections, what do you think about that?
Yeah, it actually raises questions off the top, because if he is designated as a kitchen worker, I'm curious as to why he would be outside the gates with a cart that was left out there to begin with. That to me kind of stinks. I'm not quite buying that whatsoever. Now, as a sociopath and someone who knows law enforcement, not myself, by the way, I'm talking about him, to be clear, but as someone who understands law enforcement and all that entails, I could see how he could just command a presence, having been in charge in law enforcement before, of maybe if this is a younger officer that was there and he said, "Son, open this gate or I'm going to get," so, you know what I'm trying to say? And he used that power complex over someone. I could see how that could happen. But for him to have a uniform of any nature that would make someone think that he could be allowed outside of those gates, and then it said he was pushing a cart that had been abandoned. I think that stinks. There's something wrong with that. That sounds like someone assisted in some fashion, and he knows that he's got to get out of town. he's not a fool. So I would be hard pressed to think that he didn't have something set up. I'd be looking at his visitation records and see who's been visiting him, if anyone in the recent months. And I'd be jumping down that trail.
Yeah. And, if you're the district attorney that convicted, look, this guy's a nut job. He is a straight up stone cold murderer. And if you're that DA right now, I bet he has 24-hour security protection around him, because some of these guys that escape that are stone cold murderers, they know they're going to get caught. They just want to, probably take out whoever they want to take out that they've been thinking about since they've been in jail.
Well, and I'd be kind of thinking tactically here, because I think if he was law enforcement, that he has a tactical mind in some fashion. I'd be curious if he had a radio and if he was monitoring radio traffic, because if that's the case, he knows what's up, unless they're on some kind of talk around channel that he wouldn't have access to. I mean, just there's a lot here, and you never underestimate an opponent. I think that's the worst thing you can do, is underestimate an opponent like this.
And how do you, the guy opened the gate, just let him on. See you later. See you tomorrow at work.
Yeah, you
that
got to be
right there is getting clowned right now, I bet.
Well, he's getting canned. That's what's happening. he's filling out applications right now, because what in the hell, and
that's an unforgivable mistake right there.
Yeah. Now, assuming that he wasn't a trustee of some sort that would have been allowed outside of the gates, but I can't understand why you would be in the kitchen and then be right.
Officer.
Right. No, I'm saying the bad guy. I don't see why he would have been allowed outside of those gates, because if you're working in the kitchen, then I don't see you having any reason to be outside of the gate. I don't see how those two jobs would have gone hand in hand, if you follow what I'm saying. So, but hey, stay vigilant, stay safe, because this guy, that's a scary combo. Rapist, murderer, former law enforcement. That is a very scary combo.
I agree. And look, escapes have been peppering the media lately, especially in Louisiana.
Oh my God. We
still got some on the run from the New Orleans escape. They had a guy escape from Tangipahoa Parish for the second time a week ago. And fortunately they caught him, but wow.
This is the thing in corrections, and anyone who's worked in law enforcement or corrections knows this, but these guys have 365 days, 24 hours a day to think up ways to get out. Plus, if you think for 1 second they're not monitoring what the patterns are, there should never be patterns in prison as far as the officers go. But if you don't think they're not monitoring the patterns and seeing and finding the loopholes and the weaknesses, if you think that guy did not size up that officer at the gate and choose him as the one to go up on and say, open this gate, you're sadly mistaken. All of that was calculated, and I believe that. But hey, let's go on to South Carolina. You want to go there with me?
Carolina.
So a fight on board a boat where 120 people were partying over the holiday weekend led to a shooting where 11 people were hurt along the South Carolina coast. Only 3 of the people hurt in Sunday night's shooting remain in the hospital, and all are expected to survive, thank God. The shooting happened on the dock in Little River along the Intercoastal Waterway as people were getting off the boat, and investigators believe only one person was firing. 10 people were shot and 1 person was hurt when a speaker fell on their head.
Oh, wow.
Okay, I'm not making light of this, but imagine being in a shooting and you're injured and they're like, oh God, you were shot in that. No, speaker hit me in the head.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
Bad timing there. But no arrests have been made, and many people ran for their lives with the gunfire erupted and were gone by the time that the officers arrived. The chief refused to say what started the dispute on the boat and how it led to the shooting on the dock. He also would not say what kind of weapon was used. Items were recovered, but that's part of the investigation, and we don't want to release it at this time, police said. Most of the victims were shot in the lower part of their bodies. The shooting was around 9:15 p.m., and it happened where a private charter boat docks for cruises. About 120 people and 4 crew members were on the packed boat, authorities said. About 3 miles down the Intercoastal Waterway, a North Myrtle Beach police officer accidentally shot himself in the leg as he tried to get a boat into the water to respond to the shooting scene. Little River is about 20 miles northeast.
Wait.
Yeah.
Did you say he accidentally shot himself in the leg?
He did.
Oh,
he accidentally shot himself in the leg as he tried to get a boat into the water. It doesn't give us much more about that. I have no clue what happened there. But Little River is about 20 miles northeast of Myrtle Beach, and the fishing village is known for its docks and marinas where fishing expeditions, casino boats, and several dolphin cruises leave daily. The investigation into Sunday's shooting has been made a little harder because many of the people in the boat were from out of town, and detectives are trying to track them down, according to the local police chief. Lots of shots fired there, Jim.
Lots of shots.
Wow.
And 100, did you say 100 something people?
Yeah. It said it was
That's a big
120 people were partying,
Yeah.
and 11 of them
How
were.
do you have 120 people on a boat?
I'm not sure.
I mean, that had to be a yacht, huh?
I guess. I mean, it says it's
Or a big party barge.
yeah, some kind of big ass boat. I don't know, but
Well,
what the hell?
glad
Why?
nobody was hurt. Seriously, you know.
Yeah, I mean, they're all going to survive, and
Could've been a lot worse.
I'm glad about that. But when it says that they were all shot in their lower half, it makes you wonder: was it someone shooting from above downward, or was it someone? Like, my mind goes
I
to,
think they were fighting on the boat, and someone just started popping people.
yeah, I guess maybe he was on the
I guess it
ground.
could have been maybe they were short. I don't know.
I don't know, but my God, you go out and think you're going to have fun on the water, and then someone just starts shooting. That's insane. And then none of these people thought that they should contact local authorities is another strange one to me. If someone's shooting at me when I'm getting off of a boat, but then they're all from out of town, so the hell what? Like, you're not going to say, hey, this guy shot at me. I'd like him to not do, to be held accountable for that. That's bizarre to me.
Definitely bizarre. And so we'll keep you updated if we get any more information on that. We're going to go to California. So look, Kevin Costner, no joke. Amazing actor, just wrapped up Yellowstone, one of
I
the
love Yellowstone.
classics of all time.
I may have
And
been called
he's-
Beth a time or two, Jim.
Yeah. There you go.
Really?
Well, Kevin Costner is in a little bit of trouble. And it's going to be, I guess it's up to you to judge if you think this lady is being legit or not, but I'm going to tell you what's going on. He's being sued by a stunt woman who claims he made her perform an unscripted and violent rape scene while filming his upcoming film, Horizon, An American Saga, Chapter 2. Now, Horizon has gotten a lot of play all over the place on the internet as far as the movie being produced, directed by Costner, starring Kevin Costner, supposed to be a huge blockbuster. And this lady, whose name is Devin Labella, she was the lead stunt double for actress Ella Hunt. She claimed she was the victim of a violent, unscripted, unscheduled rape scene directed by Kevin Costner in the lawsuit, which was filed Tuesday in California. Labella, who is 34, claimed she was hired on the condition that an intimacy coordinator would be present for all nude or intimate scenes. The condition fell through the cracks when on May 2nd of 2023, Labella was called to the set to fill in for Hunt, who allegedly refused to participate in that particular scene. After Hunt refused to perform the unplanned rape scene, Labella was called in without any prior warning of what would happen in the scene. The harsh scene was also in violation of SAG rules, which say at least 48 hours notice and prior consent be given before any scenes involving nudity or simulated sex take place. Who knew that even existed? Costner, who was directing that day, was very hands-on, and as they describe it, and when presenting this uncomfortable scene, which was filmed without an intimacy coordinator. While filming the scene, Costner allegedly directed a male actor to repeatedly perform a violent simulated rape on Labella. The actress was instructed to mount the stunt double and mime unbuttoning his pants. The actor then violently raked up her skirt. Labella allegedly said the scene was broadcast publicly on monitors for the entire crew to witness, etc. So there's a little bit of a caveat to this, and that is that Labella has made claims like this in the past, apparently, with other movies that she's been a part of. It said that she claimed after the traumatic filming experience, she experienced sudden bouts of crying on the set and took several days to reclaim control of herself. LaBella was not hired back for Horizon 3. I guess not.
Right? I
If
wouldn't
you're going
either.
to sue Kevin Costner.
Jeez.
But there was apparently a history that she had of making claims like this. Now, I'm not saying it's legit, not legit. I don't know. I wasn't there. I will say that I was very curious because I had never heard of a intimacy coordinator. So apparently,
I've looked that up
you've
before.
heard of that?
Yes. And
Well,
I was interested in it too. I'll tell you because I was curious where it evolved from. I was curious during these scenes that seem so hypersexual sometimes, and so like, how are they getting through this scene? Because I'm not an actor or an actress. And so that's why I looked it up, by the way, because I was curious what they do.
Well, I also Googled it, and according to Google, an intimacy coordinator is a professional who guides actors to ensure intimate scenes are handled respectively.
Yes, and like also there's extra padding and like put in the clothing in scenes where they looked to be naked. They're not in a lot of them, and so there was like extra padding put in the clothing. They almost mocked the scene so that nobody was taken by surprise, I guess, with what was going to happen, because I think more communication equals a better performance and comfort for both actors is kind of how I understand
when this started though, because this wasn't always, they didn't always have this. I would imagine maybe the Me Too movement time is when these started coming into play, because I remember 9.5 weeks with Mickey Rourke and I think it was Kim Basinger, but they allegedly had sex on set during filming. And there's been a couple of other actors / actresses that supposedly it was real sex. Like they weren't faking it.
That wouldn't be.
I would have to look up exactly who. You can certainly Google it, but back then they didn't have no intimacy coordinator.
But I appreciate the intimacy coordinator personally. I think that that's wonderful, because when you're doing, you're acting, you're pretending you're taking on the role of somebody else. And to me, most arguments in the world today stem from miscommunication, 100% miscommunication. And
no doubt.
Yeah. And so what better thing not to do than to sit down and say, okay, obviously it'll be fluid in acting, but these are kind of the key points of things that should happen. If you're going to be pushed against a wall, or if you're going to be, your shirt ripped or something like that. I don't see how you could go wrong with that.
I agree.
Even the Blue Angels, when you're like, how are you going Blue Angels out of us? Hang on, follow me here. Okay.
You have an intimacy coordinator?
No, yeah, that's all we need to do is start that rumor. But no, I watched them recently on a TikTok, and how they sit down and they close their eyes and they visualize what they're going to do and the turns and when they're going to do it without, being able to see the other. And that's how they keep such tight formations, and they work through it, and they know exactly what's going to happen, because miscommunication in that regard is death. So take it back down a level to acting. I really do. I think I can appreciate that, because you can feel comfortable to be an actress or an actor and not feel like someone's going to do something maybe that you're not prepared for or uncomfortable with.
Right. And I would say it also protects both parties, because then if someone says, oh, she did something I didn't want her to do, or he did something I didn't want him to do, you have a third party there who can say, that's not what happened.
Yeah. And so
I was there. I was the intimacy coordinator. I might look into that job.
You want to do, Jim? We will start podcasting intimacy coordinator.
You can't do that. Don't touch her.
All right. Well, come with me to Lakeland, Florida now, which Lakeland, when I think of that, I think of a school shooting, but this is going to be.
I think of Sheriff Grady Judd.
Yeah. That dude's so freaking cool. Oh my God. I'm a fan. Yeah, cool. I'm a fan of him. All right. Well, a man that was believed to be on drugs was shot and killed Monday by Florida sheriff's deputies who had tried to shock him with a taser as he wielded a set of garden shears shortly after he was apparently bitten by an alligator in a lake. How that happens, that's just the strangest set of events to happen one after the other. But Polk County Sheriff Grady Judd told reporters the two deputies were trying to de-escalate the situation before the man, who was identified as 42-year-old Timothy Schultz, climbed into their running patrol vehicle and tried to get the weapons inside. That's when the deputies opened fire. And this was a quote from Mr. Judd. He said, "This is just crazy stuff, okay? You know that it's got to be true. You can't make it up." Schultz had a long history of drug-related arrests, and he had been released from jail last Tuesday after being arrested for possession of meth. So I think that's maybe an indicator of what was going on in his head. Monday's incident started when a convenience store worker at about 5:56 a.m. reported a man acting bizarrely, shaking, and asking to call his son. Deputies went to the store, but they couldn't find the man. So about 7:43 a.m., people reported that there was a man that was later identified as Schultz swimming in a lake that contained multiple alligators. One witness tried to give him a life preserver, and another one was trying to speak with him, but was given a growl in response while he was in the water. Wow. While he was in the lake, he was apparently bitten by an alligator on his right arm. And the sheriff said, quote, "The fact that he was bitten by an alligator significantly and still continued his rampage is shocking. But if you're on enough meth, then the person you see is not the person that's attacking." Right. When Schultz emerged from the water in this gated community in Lakeland, which is east of Tampa, he picked up a set of garden shears that had been left outside, and then he tried to break into a vehicle with a brick. So after the deputies arrived at the scene, he charged at them with the shears, and the deputies tried to de-escalate the situation, and they told Schultz put down the shears. They attempted to shock him with the taser twice, according to the sheriff, and they were still trying to take him peacefully into custody when Schultz entered the deputies' still running patrol vehicle from the passenger side, and he tried to grab a hold of either the rifle or the shotgun inside from the holster, the holders that they're locked in. The deputies then shot Schultz multiple times. The incident is still under investigation, and the deputies have been placed on routine administrative leave during the initial phases of the investigation.
Wow. And he's dead. And what do you think about this?
Well,
Was this too much force?
No, absolutely not. We've got a guy that's now been tried. They tried to speak him down multiple times. So he's obviously not in his right state of mind, which again, that's hard, that's sad. But he chose to smoke meth, and then his body reacted accordingly. Multiple people have reported him as acting bizarrely. He's in a waterway at a gated community. He's not so big. Hell, even the alligators bit him, and then we're like, get the hell out of here. So
no question. I mean, no question. He wouldn't. He was he's on meth. He was flipping out, tripping.
Yeah, and he's got multiple weapons. He's got garden shears. He's got a brick, and people may think not much of a brick. Well, have someone attack you with it, and then tell me how you feel afterwards. Then he jumps into a running patrol car. I mean, he could have taken that car and taken off, and then people would be looking at the police like they're the idiots, and that's just not the case. Then when he starts trying to grab weapons, it's
where he really, I think, messed up. He's trying to get to the question here is going to be, could they have stopped this without killing him?
They tried to tase him twice.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you look at the use of force continuum, different places, different states have different jump-in points. So, I mean, I can't speak on Florida. With Sheriff Judd being there, I think it'd be he's like, you jump in where you need to. But, this guy has a deadly weapon. The shears are a deadly weapon. We'll start there. That is an absolute deadly weapon, has the potential to kill somebody. Even with a knife, you need a 21-foot reactionary gap. So I think the more educated somebody is, the more that they would realize. I think that the police officers chased him around, tried to de-escalate this. And once you put your hands on the gun,
that's certainly where he took it too far.
Yeah.
If you will. I mean, the garden shears, you can shoot someone in the leg or something like that, probably stop them.
But we don't shoot for the leg. That's the thing about weapons that I think that maybe the average public doesn't look at, is that we are not trained to shoot people in the leg. And I don't speak for anyone professionally or anything like that. I'm just saying from a history of experience. And so once you pull a weapon in the line of duty, it's never to scare somebody. That's what cowards do. If a weapon is pulled, it doesn't mean that you have to shoot somebody, but it absolutely means that the potential for a deadly encounter is there, and we're not shooting in the legs. We're going to shoot to stop, to neutralize the threat. And that's what they did. Yeah.
All right.
So I'm feeling like he kind of got what he, maybe not what he wanted, but he got what was coming his way after multiple attempts to de-escalate. And don't do drugs. And I know that sounds kind of harsh, but he probably would not act that way in his right mind, but it is what it is at this point.
Yeah. And got bit by an alligator in the process.
I mean, damn. Imagine going up to
make that
heaven.
up, just like Sheriff Judd said. You
Yeah,
can't make that up. And he kept coming after getting his arm bit.
That tells you a lot about what what had him going and what was in his system, because he was messed up.
All right, let's go to Ohio. And I'm going to tell you about a U.S. Coast Guard vet turned OnlyFans model that is facing a decades-long prison sentence for luring a man she claimed raped her into the woods of a national park in Ohio and executing him. Chelsea Perkins pleaded guilty on Tuesday to second-degree murder in the 2021 death of 31-year-old Matthew Dunmeyer. This was in the Cuyahoga, and I'm positive I'm mispronouncing it, but it is what it is, Valley National Park near Cleveland. Hikers in the Terra Vista Natural Study area of the park found Dunmeyer's body. This was around 11 a.m. on March 9th of 2021. He had a single gunshot wound to the back of the head and an Aquafina water bottle lying next to him. FBI agents learned Dunmeyer had gone out with friends and coworkers to a bar 4 days before the discovery of his body. Dunmeyer told them he was going to meet a woman who was in town for the weekend. The woman showed up in a white car, and his boss actually watched him get in that car and leave. License plate readers showed the car belonged to Perkins' husband. That's right. Investigators later learned the pair drove to an Airbnb that the defendant had rented using her credit card. After spending the night with Dunmeyer, Perkins sent a Facebook message to her tattoo artist in metropolitan Detroit that she was in Cleveland and was going to make a stop first before going to Michigan. The pair drove to the national park. This was on the morning of March 6th of 2021, and hikers said they heard a gunshot between 11:30 a.m. and 11:50 a.m. Another pair of hikers reported encountering a woman, later confirmed to be Perkins, who was walking and appeared to be lost. They thought it was odd she was wearing knee-high boots and not hiking gear. Perkins then drove to a tattoo parlor in Michigan. Agents keyed in on Perkins as a suspect and found that the same car was parked outside her husband's home in Virginia a couple of weeks later. The suspect's DNA was also found on the Aquafina bottle as well as on Dunmeyer's body. And after her short stint in the Coast Guard, police figured out, Perkins went on to be an OnlyFans model under the name Sabrina Savage. As for Perkins' rape allegation against Dunmeyer, police in Virginia Beach said there was not enough evidence to move forward on that charge. The case took a twist in November of 2021 when Dunmeyer's parents, who were upset that Perkins had not been arrested yet, took matters into their own hands. Dunmeyer's mother, Tommy Lynn Dunmeyer, and father, John Nelson McQuillan, drove to Washington, D.C. with plans to kill Perkins. Tommy Lynn Dunmeyer dressed up as a UPS driver and knocked on an apartment door. When a woman answered, she shot her twice in the abdomen. The problem with that was the woman who answered the door was not Perkins. The older Dunmeyer had just shot a woman who had nothing to do with her son's murder. Tommy Lynn Dunmeyer and McQuillan changed license plates on their vehicles, but police were still able to track them down. Tommy Lynn Dunmeyer then shot herself to death as officers were closing in. The woman she shot fortunately survived her injuries, and federal agents arrested McQuillan, who later pleaded guilty to accessory after the fact to assault with intent to kill. He received a 3-year prison sentence. And Perkins, in all of this, faces between 20 and 25 years in prison when she's sentenced on September 9th. And as crazy as all of that story is, and boy, you talk about some moving parts.
Yeah.
What really blew my mind was it took 4 freaking years for them to get to this point. It is now 2025, middle of 2025. This happened in 2021.
There's so many things happening here that I can't quite wrap my mind around. And to start, if you were a victim of rape, that is probably one of the most horrible things that I think a human being can do to another person. That's so just demoralizing. The issue here becomes that there's little to no evidence of that happening. You're claiming you were raped, yet you dress up provocatively, are willing to spend the night with the guy that supposedly raped you.
It seems like you're questioning whether she got raped, and we don't know if she got
No.
raped.
I'm not questioning if she was raped or not, because I don't have enough evidence one way or the other on this based on what I've read.
She was dressing provocatively. That doesn't mean you can't.
She's in knee-high boots, bringing him into.
She went out for the night. Have you seen what these women wear that go out these days?
Do you wear knee-high boots into the woods and bring a pistol and shoot someone in the back of the head?
Well, no, I don't wear knee-high boots, period. Boy, that'd be.
I can't wait to go camping with you or hiking.
Oh, yeah, I wear knee-high boots.
That's what we do. That's what we wear.
Every Friday night.
This is what's going on here. We're going to do some international indiscretions, okay? Because 2 hitmen were dressed as nurses. Ooh. Yeah.
International indiscretions. That's a new segment title.
Yes. Wow. I love that. Dun, dun, dun. All right. 2 hitmen. Is that our sound?
I like it.
2 hitmen dressed as nurses snuck into the ER at Tijuana's General Hospital on Wednesday to, quote, finish off a woman who had been the target of a shooting the day before, and this from Tijuana police. The woman was initially brought to the ER after being shot outside of a convenience store on Tuesday evening. And when police say when witnesses saw a man approach the victim outside of the store, she ignored him, and that's when he took out a gun and he shot her in the abdomen and in the arm. Paramedics transported her to the Tijuana's General Hospital for treatment. Now, the victim was identified as 39-year-old Wendy M., and that's how it's listed. There is no last name. That's why I'm just saying Wendy M. But investigators have told reporters that they have yet to find a motive for the murder, and they described the woman as a single mother who lived modestly and cleaned houses for a living. So according to police, she was shot twice at close range and killed by the pretend nurses as she slept on a gurney Wednesday evening in the hospital's emergency room. Now, this is what's even stranger about it. Witnesses said that the National Guard soldiers were on patrol in the emergency room, but they did nothing to stop the suspects as they ran out of the hospital. Hospital administrators say they're cooperating with police, but have refused to answer questions about how the gunmen were able to gain access to the emergency room area and the victim.
Yeah, and let me tell you, it's a horrible story. Mexico right now, in a lot of other spots in South America that used to be like the places to go, if you want to go on vacation, are not anymore.
Right.
Tijuana, Mexico used to be somewhere you'd want to go. That was a tourist destination and a fun time and all those sorts of things. But let me tell you, this to me screams cartel related. The fact that no one tried to stop them when they went in there.
Yep. I would have to agree.
Definitely says cartel was involved. Otherwise, the Mexican police and the cartels battle it out often, and the cartels will pay off police a lot of times in order to kill somebody, and they wanted this person dead. It's as simple as that. When you go in the hospital and say, we're going to finish you off, and you make that happen and you get away, these guys will never get caught. But it's a shame because a lot of these tourist destinations that used to be so great and the economy there was rocking because people from the United States want to go to Tijuana, or they want to go to some of these other places. Now, you don't want to go there.
No,
you're an American. You're really going to be in trouble.
Yeah, and so it's not hate towards anybody. It's just protection of yourself, My grandma always used to say, Kelly, you stay on the beaten path, baby. Wherever you go in life, stay on the beaten path. And unfortunately here, this woman sounds like she was on the beaten path. I mean, she was just living her life. And I think about her babies because it says she was a single mom and she cleaned houses for a living, which made me wonder whose houses does she clean? And did maybe she see something or find something that she shouldn't have found? Maybe that's why it was so imperative that they wanted to get rid of her. I don't know what could cause not one, but 2 people to be willing to go in broad daylight and shoot somebody, unless there was much more to what she knew or they thought that she knew.
Could have been her brother was someone who owed them money, and they were going to kill the sister over, to make him pay. For that. There's a multitude of reasonings as to why that happened. We'll probably never know why.
And the thing too is they have what they call plata o plomo, which is silver or lead. And basically you either take our money, as when we're talking about the cartel paying people off and the police and all of that, it's kind of like silver or lead. You either take our money and you turn your head and you look the other way, or you can eat a bullet and you can decide. But once they take the money, the payoff, now it incriminates you, but by force of hand, if that makes sense. So I feel so sorry though for those kids who'll never know their mama, that will never get to grow up with their mama. That's a tragedy. Yeah,
definitely a tragedy. And look, it used to be something where these tourist destinations were protected. And when they had cartel shit go down, it wasn't going down in the resort area, if you will. Now it's starting to, even the resort areas in some of these places are getting very sketch. Let's go to Louisiana. How about that?
Okay.
Right. And we're going to go about 10 minutes from here.
Oh, God.
Greenville Springs area.
Oh, no.
And look, this story I'm about to tell you is a mind blower, and it involves a woman who is facing charges after officials say she intentionally set fire to her ex-boyfriend's boat.
Oh, the boat. No.
And threatened nearby residents. Jail records show that Zana Lee, who is 30, was arrested. This was this past Tuesday on one count of aggravated arson. Now, the incident Lee is accused of occurred on Greenville Springs Road. Y'all, that's in the central area of Baton Rouge, but not very far from where I'm recording right now, super far from where KJ is recording right now.
Yeah, I'm in another state right now.
That's right. So according to Baton Rouge Fire Department, the fire was extinguished when crews arrived on the scene, but it had caused approximately $6,000 worth of damage to the boat, completely destroying it. Investigators said witnesses reported seeing the victim's ex-girlfriend near the boat shortly before the fire began. They said she had allegedly made multiple threats in the past, including threatening to set the boat on fire. According to officials, surveillance video showed Lee's vehicle enter the parking lot and parking near that boat. Minutes later, the video reportedly showed her vehicle speeding away while flames became visible in the boat, and that boat was quickly engulfed into fire. The boat was parked just a few feet from an occupied apartment building, which officials say created a serious risk, obviously, to residents. You don't want that spreading. No word on what the guy did to get his boat set on fire, KJ.
Maybe he did nothing. You don't know.
Maybe not. Maybe, or maybe he cheated on her. We don't know. But I'll tell you what, ladies getting buck wild today on the Crime Wire. First we talk about a woman killing a man and getting a tattoo, and now one's setting her ex-boyfriend's boat on fire.
She went for the jugular on this one. To touch a man's boat. That's hatred. Because you don't touch a man's boat or his golf clubs. I learned that growing up. Daddy wouldn't let me near the boat, and he wouldn't let me near his golf clubs. So obviously, she was pretty pissed.
I don't know if you've ever seen Young Guns, and this is not an older movie. It was in the 90s, and Emilio Estevez played Billy the Kid, and they had several other people in this movie. But there's one point during the movie where Billy the Kid goes up to a guy that's actually a bounty hunter looking for him. And he says, "Hey man, can I see your gun?" And the guy didn't know it was Billy the Kid. So he's like this real slick, gunslinger. And he hands the gun to Billy the Kid, and Billy the Kid's looking at it. And the guy says, "Careful, son. Stroking a man's gun is like stroking a man's lady." and then Billy Kid shoots him with his own gun. It was great.
Of course.
But, setting a man's boat on fire is like messing with a man's lady, I say.
That's just in South Louisiana. That's unconscionable. You leave the boats alone. They did nothing to you. Okay. And, hey, look, and then to put all those other people at risk nearby just because you're that angry, that's not cool.
And again, but we don't know what occurred here. Did she catch him cheating with her best friend? Who knows? And then half the ladies listening to this will be like, "You go, girl, set that boy's boat on fire." All of a sudden, she's
my key to the side.
We don't know. She might have had a good reason. We don't know yet. But I'll tell you what, she was scorned. Something pissed her off.
You ain't never lied. And now maybe take just a moment to remember the boat and all that it went through when the boat did nothing. All right, look, let's talk about this. We're in Cali now, we're in Alameda County. And this is where a Alameda County rapist is suspected of killing his cellmate in Mule Creek State Prison. So we've got a rapist gone murderer. The rapist, 54-year-old Jesse Ferdin, was moved into a restrictive housing unit pending the homicide investigation. Now, this name, I'm going to say his name is Longino. If that's not it, I apologize. But Longino Jones, 51, was found unresponsive inside of a cell he shared with Ferdin. Jones was transported to the prison's triage area where he was pronounced deceased by paramedics an hour later. Ferdin was convicted in Alameda County in 2018 of rape with force and violence, and he was sentenced in 2019 to serve 12 years in prison. Okay, I haven't even finished going through the article yet, but you got 12 years on a violent rape, and then you're going to go and kill somebody? Dude, you would have been out in 6 on good time, and then you go and you kill somebody? I don't understand the logic here, but Jones was convicted in Los Angeles County in 2007 on first-degree burglary as a third-strike offender. He was sentenced to life with the possibility of parole. Mule Creek State Prison houses more than 3,800 inmates, and the homicide is under investigation, and Amador County coroner will determine Jones's official cause of death.
And what's interesting to me right off the bat about that article is it's like role reversal. Usually the rapist gets killed in prison.
Yeah.
That's the rapist. The murderer kills him, right? Because nobody, even the lowest of the low prisoners hate rapists.
Sex offenders are, they're no
they
good.
Don't like that. So this was kind of role reversal where the rapist did the killing, and it did, you didn't say in that article, so I assume it didn't reference what caused it.
Yeah, it doesn't. He's just found unresponsive. So, but for them,
point up though that he 12-year stint, probably going to serve half that, and now he's going to serve the rest of his life. It sounds like in jail.
Well, look, aside from the fact they think he just killed somebody, to get 12 years for a violent rape, it says rape with force and violence, is to me unconscionable. 12 years? Absolutely not. He should have been in there longer.
Kelly Jennings, any final thoughts?
No, I'm about to go jump down a water slide. Can't wait.
I wish I was.
Well, put on your knee-high boots that you like to wear camping, and you come on and jump down this water slide.
Yeah, I ain't got no water slide here. I'll lay down some Visqueen and do a slip and slide like in the old days. But a lot of people listen to this, so
I appreciate them
there, and we love it, love it, love it, and we thank you so much.
Of course, always here to talk about the crime.
That's right. And until next time, I'm Jim Chapman.
And I'm Kelly Jennings.
For CrimeWire
Weekly.
Yes, you did.
I got it right that time. You want to do it again?
No, I like it.
Okay.
We're not doing it again. That was spontaneous.